going? So today I wanted to ask you guys something. I would like to have you think and also give me your answers. Depending on how well this video turns out to be, I would like to make it a series to ask you guys questions rather than me giving you my thoughts all the time. There are mainly 3 reasons why I want to do so. The first reason is that in general, if you keep talking, you hear only your voice so loud that you can't hear what everybody else is saying, and thus you miss a chance to learn. I must admit that it's harder to do that on YouTube, but today I'd like to learn about you. Also, I would like to make my channel more interactive. The second reason is that people in power often make you believe in one thing and deny the rest, whether they're good or bad, or whether or not you even realize. Why do they do that though? In order to get rid of your thinking faculty, to control you. Before getting on to the third reason, I have to make it clear that this isn't conspiracy or any science fiction story or anything. This is just what happens really in daily life. It is not always the case, but often the tools that are used for this are education, religion, entertainment, including movies and so forth, for example. And I am not saying that all of those things have such an intention all the time. I'm not saying that they are all bad either, because we need to keep order in this world and some standards are needed, definitely, in my opinion. Another tool that I can introduce you is language. A good example is that in colonized countries or areas, native languages often get replaced with aggressors' language so that the locals can't think well with their new language that they are poor at, meaning that it becomes easier for the aggressors to control the locals, and the locals can think well so they can't oppose them easily, and at the same time their new language doesn't cover their original culture entirely, and thus they're likely to gradually lose their culture as well. Depending on the situation, the kind of tools which I sometimes call propaganda or brainwashing can be very obvious. So that you might want to question something or oppose to some of the imposed ideas, but then depending on the subject, you can be dead, at least socially. And I am guessing that situations like that are the very thing that shapes taboos. Anyways, long introduction aside, let me ask you a question now, but I have to point out that it is going to be one of the longest questions that you'll be ever asked, because 1, I have to define precisely, and 2, I'd like to have you think along the way. So it might be a little late, but what I would like from you guys is self-introduction. So, what are you in the society? What are you in the society? Answer in 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. That was actually a little fast, but how did you answer to that? You might have thought in between of a student and a worker, and if you're a worker, you might have thought more specifically like a teacher, researcher, reporter, creator, counselor, advisor, analyzer, writer, banker, cashier, developer, or a pilot, or an astronaut, which is pretty rare, but other kinds of answers might have been that you are a child, or father, or mother, or you might have answered as that you are a male or a female or something that can be categorized as those, or maybe you have called yourself white, black, or yellow maybe, or you might have called yourself European, Asian, or more specifically Japanese, American, Russian, Chinese, German, French, Indian, Turkish, Finnish, Swedish. I could go on, but you get the idea. But here is the thing. You're not completely your occupation, it's just what you do to make a living with. You're not completely your race, it's just the color of your skin and some other physical features. You're not completely your nationality, it's just where you're legally from. Those are actually very important elements which should be respected and which I would love to cover later, but for now, I am not asking about them. So then what am I asking about? Now let's imagine a scene of a bully. It's at some high school and a boy is surrounded by other boys and he's been picked on. You're at the scene. Now what are you? Are you a watcher, a fighter, a stopper, a speaker, or an investigator, or perhaps an aggressor? Or a believer that just hopes that it'll just end? Or do you pretend that you're not there while you are there? There's my favorite quote from Elie Wiesel, who won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1986. He said, The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. The opposite of art is not ugliness, it's indifference. The opposite of faith is not heresy, it's indifference. The opposite of life is not death, it's indifference. Today, people often talk about the world as one. Not a day goes by without hearing the expression, the world peace. However, for instance, bullies are happening in your community, nation, the international society. So, what are you? What is your role there? No matter how much you pretend that you're not part of it, you are part of the world. Humans have established so-called society, and even though you are not the very person who established it, you are living in it, and you are helping them run it. And especially people like yourself that can watch this video. My point is that I just can't help but thinking that we need to be responsible for what we have done and what we are doing. As you know, so many people in the past and the present have been trying to solve as many problems as they can. But why do you think that we keep having social and political problems, regardless of the efforts to not have them and to solve them? I personally think that it is because we are imposing the conclusions of our thoughts to each other. In other words, we do not think together. I came to realize that it's not realistic to think that someone comes up with some idea and expects the rest of the world to agree to it, especially considering that we all come from different backgrounds. Which is ironic because right now I'm making this video believing in the power of the internet. Just so you know, on this channel before, I was intentionally expressing my emotions because it is not part of our culture to show our emotions apparently. And that has been putting us into difficult situations. And it is also my right to have honest reactions. But now I have gotten myself together. And I would like to get to the next level and actually communicate with the world. Anyway, as I said, we need to think together, and you might think that politicians have been thinking together, holding meetings and whatnot, but in my opinion, that kind of stage is too early for us. For example, what do you think that the world should achieve? Is it really the world peace? And if so, what can bring it? Do all of us have enough common values to achieve it? I can see that the majority of the world today want the world peace, including myself. However, at the same time, I keep seeing others wanting their territory to be bigger, for example, or they want to be richer, or they want to be stronger, so they want to be more armed, or others don't want to be interfered at all. There are also groups of people who just want to think about themselves individually, so they don't want any governments at all. A lot of us talk as if we all wanted the world peace, or all countries should be friendly to each other and so forth, but when do we exactly sign up for that? There are many superficial treaties everywhere, but are they really helping, and how is the reality? Everything is just so unclear to me because we talk about the things that are way ahead, skipping the first stage, meaning that we don't know each other, we don't know what each of us wants, and we don't know how the society works, like how things work. And first of all, we don't know about our own selves, as we don't get informed enough, including true history, like our identity. And also we don't get to think enough. So what kind of ideals are we picturing with the world, and to achieve whatever that you are picturing, again, what are you? At the same time, there's something that I wanted to tell you today. It's that you are special. You're special. You have more power than you think you do. It's not only superheroes' role to save the world, for example. Historically seen as well, there have been many heroes in each country. But all of them were just another human being, just like you and I, and not so much different from us. The important thing to note here is that when you are completely determined, there's absolutely nothing that others could do to stop you. That's how real determinations work. And that's why respecting individuals can be dangerous at times. And that's why there are people out there that want to keep you down and rather want to control you. Even without determinations though, just by your existence, you're part of the world, because there are so many consequences that are caused by you every single day as you are constantly making choices. In other words, you are changing the world every day. You might think that what you do doesn't really matter, but someone with a different measurement might not think the same way, and at the same time, don't forget about the situation where there are many versions of you role-wise. Whatever choice that you make daily, it's usually based on what you already know, right? Do you actually know enough to judge though? What I see often in the world is that people judge what they don't know using their imagination and their poor information that they passively get. And it makes me wonder how they do that. But to be honest with you, I actually know the answer. The psychological trick is that they want to justify how they are or where they stand, and they don't want to face the fact that they are not at the level that they should be at. And also, even though what most of us know is only little dots, some connect those limited dots and draw some lines and say that they see the whole picture. They make believe that they do. And that's the scary side of believing, because believing in something can blind you and cause you some misunderstandings. Not always, but it can. That is why I'm here to listen to you. But another thing to mention today is that our generation is often called the information generation or the internet generation. And I hear some of the people here complaining that the internet gives you too much ego and it's socially bad. And I oppose to that idea. It's okay that we're special, because it's a fact that we are special and we all have some kind of mission, and it's good that each of us now can have our own community or audience. And what we need to learn though in this generation is how to respect each other's roles in order to cope with one another without conflicts. Just for your information, such a way of thinking has its name in my country. It's called the spirit of Wa. It means to have your identity and harmonize with others while embracing your identity without compromising when you interact with them. And I see it as respect for yourself and others. Well, I need to wrap up this video soon, but if you are curious about my answer to the question that I asked you guys today, it would be that I'm a thinker. I've been calling myself a thinker for years and years now. And at the same time, I've been finding myself an expressor and a reacher as well lately, which makes me feel a little greedy, and you might have no idea what I'm talking about, but I'm using 8 levels to see the world currently. By currently, I mean that it might change because, I could grow up, see the world better, and my thoughts will just adjust to that. But so the 8 levels that I'm using are finder, thinker, inventor, polisher, expressor, reacher, raiser, and supporter. The wording might sound a little bit strange to native speakers, but Eric Douglas, the president of Leading Resources, has actually used some of those. He used 4 categories that were director, expressor, thinker, and harmonizer to group people's communication styles. So I might be seeing the world based on people's communication. He has used others like dictator, initiator, charmer, entertainer, explorer, persuader, diplomat, socializer, investigator, organizer, counselor, nurturer, analyzer, supporter, provider, and pleaser. I mean, you could go in details like that, but what I would love to see is the structure, so the basic ideas would be nice. Also, there's a book and a movie called Divergent, which might be for teenage kids, and so I'm not sure if I sound convincing enough anymore, but hear me out. The story is about the society in the future, and there, people are categorized into factions based on their personalities. And they were abnegation, the selfless, amity, the peaceful, candor, the honest, dauntless, the brave, and erudite, the intelligent. There's another story called The Giver, which was also made into movies. And I've read the story like years and years ago, and I don't remember in details, but it's about the utopian society of sameness again. And the main character gets chosen as the receiver of memory, and the giver teaches him a lot of stuff. And the society is controlled by the elders. These are some examples, but again, what are you in the society? And if you can show me the way that you see the world, it might actually help me understand what you're talking about. So please think and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you think that what I'm asking you is stupid or useless, or if you can't come up with any answer to my question, then I have to warn you that your thinking faculty might have been deprived. Also, out of the box answers are welcome, because one of the intentions of making this video is to have you guys think. Why? Because we need to intentionally train ourselves to think, because we are told not to think by what we are taught. Our thinking faculty must stay, and we need to make efforts to do that. And also we need to see the world in a different way than how we are taught. And most importantly, that is to not be controlled by people in power, but to control our capabilities and where we live in by our own. Anyways, that's all for today. Yay, finally over. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye!